The 7 levels of fictional serial killers. Level 1. The Impulsive Amateurs. Level 1 represents fictional serial killers who are fundamentally terrible at what they do. Characters whose killing is driven entirely by impulse, ego, and emotion, rather than planning or strategic thinking. These aren't masterminds. They're chaotic individuals whose methods are so sloppy and public that they'd be caught within hours in realistic contexts. What makes Level 1 killers fascinating isn't competence, but their psychological profiles. Patrick Bateman in American Psycho, 2000, exemplifies this level perfectly. Christian Bale's portrayal creates a character whose kills, if they actually happen beyond his delusions, are spectacularly incompetent. He murders a homeless man in broad daylight on a busy street. He chases a prostitute through his apartment building completely naked with a chainsaw while screaming. Bateman has zero strategy, no combat training beyond gym fitness, and no concept of covering tracks. He literally confesses to murders multiple times, including admitting on his lawyer's voicemail that he killed Paul Allen, perhaps the worst decision any serial killer could make. His only advantages are physical fitness and wealthy privilege that makes people dismiss his confessions as jokes. Bateman represents the serial killer as pure fantasy rather than functional reality. Billy Loomis and Stu Macher from Scream, 1996, occupy similar territory despite having actual body counts. Skeet Ulrich and Matthew Lillard created characters who successfully execute multiple murders and frame someone else, demonstrating more competence than Bateman. They use the Ghostface costume for anonymity and coordinate attacks to provide alibis. However, their fundamental amateurism reveals itself through emotional volatility and complete lack of exit strategy. Billy's obsession with Sydney clouds every tactical decision. Stu kills primarily for entertainment. Their theatrical final reveal, where they explain their entire scheme while assuming victory, represents classic villain incompetence. They're teenagers playing at being masterminds, doomed by youth and inexperience despite initial successes. Level 2. The Obsessive Stalkers. Level 2 represents killers who've graduated from pure impulse to calculated obsession. Characters who research victims, plan murders with forethought, and demonstrate genuine intelligence. However, their obsessions, whether romantic fixation or psychological compulsion, ultimately compromise their effectiveness and lead to increasingly sloppy decisions. Joe Goldberg from You, Netflix series, 2018-present, perfectly embodies this level through Penn Badgley's portrayal of a bookstore manager turned serial stalker killer. Joe's greatest strength is blending seamlessly into normal society. He's the quiet, polite, seemingly trustworthy neighbor no one would suspect. He studies victims for weeks or months, learning routines, habits, and vulnerabilities with obsessive thoroughness. He uses social media, physical surveillance, and social engineering to gather comprehensive intelligence before acting. His kills are relatively careful, and he demonstrates genuine skill at disposing bodies and covering immediate tracks. Joe's fatal flaw is his delusional relationship with love. Every murder stems from twisted romantic obsession. He genuinely believes he's protecting the women he fixates on, that his violence serves righteous purpose. This self-deception makes him careless when emotions intensify. He'll spend days stalking without considering the evidence trail he's creating. He panics when plans deviate from his romantic fantasies, making reactive decisions that create unnecessary risks. Joe could potentially be elite tier if he could separate intellectual planning from emotional compulsions, but that separation is psychologically impossible for him. The Grabber from The Black Phone, 2022, represents similar limitations through Ethan Hawke's chilling performance as a child abductor operating from a soundproof basement. The Grabber demonstrates planning and patience. He successfully abducts multiple victims using disguises and careful timing, maintains a secure location, and operates without detection for extended periods. However, his compulsive need to psychologically torture victims before killing them and his theatrical approach reveal Level 2 limitations. He's competent enough to be genuinely terrifying, but not disciplined enough to be truly elite. Level 3, the Methodical Professionals. Level 3 represents killers who approach murder as craft rather than compulsion. Characters who've developed genuine methodology, understand operational security, and maintain emotional control, allowing strategic thinking even during violence. What separates Level 3 from higher tiers isn't skill, but scope. Anton Chigurh from No Country for Old Men, 2007, represents this level through Javier Bardem's Oscar-winning portrayal of a hitman who kills with philosophical detachment. Chigurh operates according to a fatalistic moral code, where coin tosses determine victim survival, creating the illusion he's merely fate's instrument. He kills without hesitation, anger, pleasure, or regret. His cattle gun execution method is efficient, relatively silent, and pragmatic. He demonstrates tactical intelligence in tracking targets, genuine combat skills when confronted, and discipline to complete contracts regardless of obstacles. However, Chigurh's self-imposed moral code, while allowing detachment, also creates predictability and inflexibility. He won't deviate from principles even when doing so might ensure survival. He leaves significant evidence, bodies, witnesses, crime scenes, because his role is professional killer, not hidden serial murderer. His professionalism is perfect for contract killing, but would fail the specific demands of sustained serial murder requiring invisibility. Frank Booth from Blue Velvet, 1986, occupies similar territory through Dennis Hopper's terrifying portrayal of a psychopathic crime lord. Booth demonstrates methodical violence combined with strategic control over a criminal network. He operates with calculated brutality, maintaining power through psychological intimidation and systematic violence. However, his uncontrollable rage when triggered by specific phrases or situations, combined with his drug-fueled unpredictability, prevents him from reaching higher levels of operational sophistication. He's brilliant within his criminal ecosystem, but increasingly reckless when personal compulsions override professional judgment. Level 4, the Hidden Chameleons. Level 4 represents killers who've mastered invisibility, characters whose greatest weapon is existing in plain sight, completely trusted by society while methodically destroying lives. They don't just avoid detection. They actively cultivate reputations as upstanding citizens that make suspicion psychologically difficult even when evidence accumulates. Dexter Morgan from Dexter, Showtime series 2006-2013, exemplifies this level through Michael C. Hall's portrayal of a blood spatter analyst who's secretly a serial killer targeting other murderers. Dexter's professional position provides perfect camouflage. He works inside the police department, understands exactly how investigations function, knows what evidence to avoid, and can monitor threats to his cover. His dark passenger urges are channeled into structured code. Only kill those who've murdered innocents and deserve death. This provides both psychological justification and practical discipline. He researches victims exhaustively before acting. Dexter's operational security is exceptional. He maintains multiple kill sites, disposes of bodies to prevent discovery, creates airtight alibis, and uses forensic expertise to ensure scenes contain no traceable evidence. His only significant vulnerability is what makes him compelling. Relationships with Harrison create emotional investments that compromise careful discipline. Love and connection become his greatest operational weaknesses. Louis Bloom from Nightcrawler, 2014, demonstrates similar camouflage through Jake Gyllenhaal's unsettling performance as a videographer who graduates from filming crime scenes to creating them. Lou cultivates a persona of ambitious entrepreneur, someone whose intensity seems like professional drive rather than pathological detachment. He's orchestrating murders while maintaining complete deniability, hiding behind cameras and the First Amendment. He represents Level 4 evolution, the killer who makes society complicit by giving audiences exactly what their voyeurism demands. Level 5, the psychological architects. Level 5 represents killers who've transcended physical violence to master psychological warfare. Characters who understand the human mind as both weapon and target. Lorne Malvo from Fargo, FX series, Season 1, 2014, represents this evolution through Billy Bob Thornton's Emmy-winning performance as a malevolent drifter who corrupts everyone he encounters. Malvo doesn't just kill, he psychologically dismantles people, identifying their deepest insecurities and resentments, then carefully nurturing those dark impulses until his victims destroy their own lives. His brilliance lies in understanding that humans want permission to act on their worst instincts. He provides that permission through carefully calibrated manipulation, then watches as ordinary people commit extraordinary atrocities. What makes Malvo Level 5 is complete psychological control achieved through minimal direct action. He transforms mild-mannered insurance salesman Lester Nygaard into a murderer simply through conversation and strategic provocation. He engineers conflicts between other criminals that result in mutual destruction while he remains invisible. Malvo understands that in modern society, the most effective weapon is turning people against themselves and each other. John Doe from C7, 1995, operates at similar sophistication through Kevin Spacey's performance as a killer orchestrating an elaborate morality play. Doe's genius isn't gruesome murders based on 7 deadly sins. It's understanding that the real target is Detective Mills's soul. Every kill leads Mills toward a specific psychological state. Doe dies physically, but wins psychologically by proving everyone can be corrupted. Level 6, the intellectual gods. Level 6 represents killers who've achieved near-perfect synthesis of intelligence, methodology, and psychological sophistication. Characters operating at the absolute peak of human capability, combining genius-level intellect with complete emotional control and refined aesthetic sensibility. What defines Level 6 is combining multiple elite abilities: brilliant planning, profound psychological insight, cultural sophistication, and genuine combat effectiveness. Dr. Hannibal Lecter, across multiple adaptations, particularly Mads Mikkelsen's portrayal in Hannibal, NBC series 2013-2015, represents this tier's apex. Lecter is simultaneously psychiatrist, surgeon, and chef, professions requiring mastery that provide both practical killing skills and perfect social cover. His surgical expertise means he knows exactly how to inflict maximum damage with minimal effort. His culinary artistry allows him to literally serve victims to dinner guests while maintaining urbane sophistication. What separates Hannibal from lower tiers is aesthetic refinement combined with absolute capability. He approaches murder as Renaissance art. Every kill is composed, deliberate, rich with symbolism. The famous Wounded Man tableau demonstrates this. He creates visceral artwork from bodies that forces viewers to confront beauty within horror. This artistic approach isn't ego. It's psychological warfare that traumatizes investigators while providing no practical evidence. Physically, Hannibal is exceptionally dangerous. He's strong, combat-trained, and understands anatomy so completely that every strike targets vulnerable points for maximum efficiency. Kaiser Soze from The Usual Suspects, 1995, demonstrates similar intellectual dominance through Kevin Spacey's performance. Soza's genius is narrative control. He manipulates perception so completely that his very existence becomes questionable. The best defense isn't avoiding evidence, but creating false narratives so compelling they override suspicion. Level 7. The Existential Monsters. Level 7 is the absolute pinnacle. Fictional killers who transcend conventional serial murder to become forces of existential destruction. Characters whose impact extends beyond ending lives to systematically dismantling humanity itself. What defines Level 7 is ability to destroy not just bodies, but souls, to corrupt others into committing atrocities through pure psychological manipulation without needing physical presence. Johann Liebert from Monster, anime series 2004-2005, represents the absolute apex. Johann doesn't merely kill people, he engineers their psychological destruction until they beg for death, kill others in his name, or orchestrate their own suicides while believing it was their authentic choice. His weapon isn't gun or knife. It's pure understanding of human psychology refined to supernatural precision. He can enter someone's life, identify their deepest vulnerabilities and darkest impulses, then systematically dismantle their sense of self until they're transformed into either victims or perpetrators of violence. What makes Johann incomparably dangerous is that he doesn't need to touch victims to destroy them. He simply talks to people, planting ideas and doubts that metastasize into complete psychological breakdown. Johann's methodology represents perfection in serial killing that paradoxically means he's barely a serial killer in conventional sense. He doesn't hunt or maintain trophies. He has no signature pattern investigators could analyze. He can turn loving parents into murderers of their own children. The philosophical horror of Johann is that he seems to kill not from urge or mission, but simply because he can. Because human psychology is a system he's mastered so completely that destroying people is merely intellectual exercise. He operates beyond categories of good and evil into pure existential negation, not chaos or order, but absence. He's not chaotic like Billy and Stu, not impulsive like Bateman, not obsessive like Joe, not limited by professional parameters like Chigurh, not constrained by codes like Dexter, not requiring artistry like Hannibal. He's the synthesis of every elite tier ability, while being bound by no limitation except perhaps his own existence. Johann Liebert sits alone at Level 7 as the definition of the perfect fictional monster, not because he ends the most lives, but because he erases humanity from everyone he meets, turning people into instruments of their own destruction while remaining invisible, incomprehensible, and unstoppable.